Well, thank you for joining on this December webinar. Today we'll be featuring our partner Squarebox Systems, who will share with us some valuable information on their CatDV product. We will be recording this webinar and we will be placing it on our website over the next coming days. So my name is Elton. I'm the Indirect Channel Manager for FileCatalyst. I'm responsible for all partnerships from an ISV as well as a channel perspective. Thank you once again for joining us on this partner showcase. This webinar will show you how FileCatalyst can help you accelerate the ingestion and distribution of content within CatDV. We will run these webinars on a regular basis to share with you our partner solutions and show you how we work together. A little bit about FileCatalyst. We're an Ottawa-based company. We've been around since the year 2000. We have always provided file transfer solutions. Since 2004, we focused on accelerated file transfer solutions. We are an Emmy award-winning company. Our products are horizontal, so they're a good fit for any industry who needs to reliably, securely, and effectively move data over the WAN, all while doing it in an efficient manner, i.e. accelerated and maximizing your bandwidth. The verticals we sell into include broadcast and media, enterprise, oil and gas, medical, and so on. Some of our customers in the media and broadcast space include NBC, Harpo, CBS, DreamWorks, NBC Sports, Time Warner, BBC, Bell Media, ZTV, Al Jazeera, and so on. Before I hand it off to Dave, I would like to let you know that we will be monitoring our Twitter feeds during this webinar. You can use the hashtag FileCatalyst to tweet. At this point, I would like to introduce Dave Clack from Squarebox Systems, who will be a panelist on this webinar. Dave, over to you.
Thanks, Elton. My name is Dave Clack. I'm Chief Executive of Squarebox Systems, and we make CatDV, which is a leading media asset management tool, which essentially helps folks to find, organize, and reuse their content. So I won't talk in too much more detail at this point before getting into the slides, but just hello, and thank you for taking the time to join us on this webinar today.
Cool. Thanks, Dave. So on the agenda today, we'll walk through an overview of the FileCatalyst protocol, then talk about the FileCatalyst ISV partner ecosystem. I'll then hand it off to Dave, and he will give us an introduction to Squarebox Systems and their product CatDV. I will then take over and give you a brief overview of the FileCatalyst Direct solution and how it was integrated into CatDV. Then I'll hand it off to Dave, and he will talk about the FileCatalyst integration within CatDV. Then Dave and I will talk about the value proposition, and as well as we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So as you can see, there's a lot of interesting topics to be covered today, so stay tuned. So FileCatalyst, what do we do? So FileCatalyst provides an enterprise-grade software solution that allows movement of large data around the world. It is a patent-pending technology that allows for accelerated file transfers using a unique UDP-based approach. FileCatalyst simplifies complicated large file transfers for the enterprise end user. FileCatalyst has easy-to-use tools with intuitive user interface. FileCatalyst also provides all the tools for integrating its technology into other products as well as existing enterprise infrastructures. FileCatalyst provides all the management, security, and monitoring tools required to ensure data is moved efficiently, securely, and reliably across corporate networks. The FileCatalyst solution is also available on all major cloud vendors such as Amazon, OpenStack, Windows Azure, and localized regional cloud providers through our cloud marketplace partners. So let's go and take a look at TCP. What is TCP? So TCP has been around a really long time. TCP is the underlying protocol for most applications we use on a daily basis. So email, browsing the web, as well as FTP. So TCP powers the internet. It was built well into the 70s and has been around since then. TCP has been built for sending small data. It was never designed to send large data. However, it is a protocol that handles data with the focus of reliability, error checking, congestion control, and making sure data is intact, however, not with speed in mind. So it's great for sending small amounts of data. So here is an example of how TCP works. TCP sends data in a serial process. The sender will send a small amount of data and wait for an acknowledgement of that all the data that was sent has been received on the other end. Then it will send more data. This makes TCP a very chatty protocol. Chatty in the sense that there's a lot of waiting and a lot of talking, but not much data transfer. In addition, with TCP, as soon as a packet gets dropped, the rate drops in half, indicating that you're sending less data at this point. So it does not respond very well to network congestion in that sense. With FileCatalyst, FileCatalyst leverages the UDP protocol. The UDP protocol is unreliable by default. However, with the FileCatalyst technology, we have perfected it and included all the cool functionality of TCP at the application level within FileCatalyst. So with FileCatalyst, the sender breaks down the file into blocks, the blocks into packets. We number each of these packets and send as many as we can on the network. Since the packets are numbered, the receiver will only request packets that are missing opposed to acknowledging all the packets. This process eliminates the dead air on the line, ensuring the link is always maximized. During the transfer, the sender and receiver will also monitor the network for dropped packets or latency spikes. When this happens, it means that the sender is sending faster than what the link can handle. This is known as congestion. FileCatalyst has a congestion control algorithm built into the protocol to ensure oversaturation is not encountered and other applications using the internet are not starved for bandwidth. The congestion control can be tuned based on priority of file transfers. In addition, the congestion control algorithm can instantly detect the link capacity and have the transfer start at that rate. So taking a look at the bandwidth improvement with FileCatalyst, here's a table that shows you, how FileCatalyst can help you accelerate your file transfers on different connections and different latencies. So taking a look at a 1 gigabit connection this is a connection from say LA to New York with about 50 milliseconds of latency. So transfer a 10 gigabyte file, FTP will take you around 5 hours and 48 minutes. Because FileCatalyst is immune to that latency, FileCatalyst can transfer that file in 1 minute and 24 seconds. Looking at the same link, but now from LA to Rio, you have about 130 milliseconds of latency. To transfer a 10 gigabyte file, FTP will now take you 15 hours and 44 minutes, whereas FileCatalyst will take you the same 1 minute and 24 seconds. Because FileCatalyst is the leading file transfer technology, we can transfer files up to 10 gigabits per second. So looking at a 10 gigabit per second link from LA to New York, you have about 50 milliseconds of latency. To transfer a 10 gigabyte file, FTP will take you around again 5 hours and 48 minutes, whereas FileCatalyst will take you about 8.4 seconds. The same connection from LA to Rio, over 10 gigabits per second, you have about 130 milliseconds of latency. To transfer a 10 gigabyte file, FTP will take you 15 hours and 44 minutes, whereas FileCatalyst will take 8.4 seconds. So as you can see, FileCatalyst is immune to latency across any connection, any bandwidth speed, as well as any link which has latency on it. So in a nutshell, FileCatalyst will play fair on your network. FileCatalyst can transfer files up to 10 gigabits in a single stream. FileCatalyst can be configured to transfer huge amounts of small files efficiently. FileCatalyst can also handle large files. In addition, FileCatalyst has features that reduce the amount of data sent across the wire. Compression on the fly will compress data in transit and decompress the data before it's written to disk. Incremental delta transfers will ensure only parts of the file that are modified are transferred. FileCatalyst offers secure, reliable, and managed transfers with the ability to automatically resume broken transfers. FileCatalyst has automation tools as well as a strong SDK which can be used for integration into other products. FileCatalyst also has a central management that provides a bird's eye view of your entire deployment. So taking a look at our FileCatalyst partner ecosystem, here's a list of some of our partners. The FileCatalyst technology can be integrated into any software or hardware out there that has a need for file transfer. FileCatalyst has an extensive suite of APIs that can be used in any type of integration. We integrate with cloud vendors, MAMs like CatDV, storage vendors, QC applications, media workflow engines, as well as playout systems. Now I'm going to hand the mic over to Dave, and he will give us an introduction to Squarebox system. Dave, it's all yours.
Great, thanks, Elton. So CatDV. CatDV does media asset management, and I thought I'd talk for a little bit about why we exist, if you like. First off, there is an insatiable and growing demand for high-quality content. You only have to look at how many internet channels are popping up every year to see that the world is making a lot more content than ever before. What makes that content sticky is that it's good quality. That's what makes our customers and consumers keep coming back. But at the same time, we haven't got suddenly more money to be able to produce this high-quality content. And so one way of being able to manage in this new world is for organizations to realize the value that is in the assets, their media assets that they already have. That's videos, stills, sound. And that back catalog, those B-rolls, can be enormously valuable, and reusing them can help to save a lot of time and a lot of money. And really, CatDV is all about helping in that environment. We help companies to find and reuse their media assets. We help teams to work together and to get more stuff done, saving both time and money. And that's kind of a fairly concise and trite way of putting it, but essentially that's why CatDV exists, to help organize and then find and reuse media content. So can we move to the next slide, please? So CatDV is a suite of applications, and its scope is quite broad. And so what this page tries to do is to describe some of the things that CatDV can do, or some of the features and functions that it has built in. So from the top, CatDV is a tool to help people organize their content. We can manage and control ingest, transcodes, and movement of files as new content arrives. Clearly, we can help people to log very efficiently, to be able to mark up their content, to show particularly interesting points, and to be able to assist with the search and find process later in the workflow. And we have amazing tools to be able to automate people's workflows, and we'll talk about that in a bit more detail on the next page. But essentially, CatDV's worker node is our automation engine, and that can control a lot of workflow activities, the moves, the transcodes, the ingests, without any manual intervention, clearly saving a lot of time, a lot of money, and almost as importantly, keeping the metadata and the underlying assets filed in a sensible manner. So CatDV helps folks to organize their media. So we, can you go back one, Elton? I haven't quite done that one yet. Then looking down to the right, then CatDV helps people to manage their content too. So we know many people use CatDV as a front end to their SAN and to their archive. So being able to look at their media, being able to search for media, irrespective of whether it's stored, whether the media is online, whether it's stored on a tape or on the SAN, on a NAS, on an external drive, or whatever. CatDV can manage what is stored where and can control how things move from one tier to another of that storage. So CatDV is a management tool. On the left-hand side, we have a creation part, and one of CatDV's key strengths is its ability to help with the production process. So we have great links with the NLEs, we can rough cut, we can put together subclips, sequences, and really support the pre-production, through the shoot, post-production, distribution process for content creators. So creation is a huge asset for CatDV as a tool. And then bringing all that together, CatDV helps folks to work better together. And these days, it's unlikely that you're going to be working in exactly the same building as the folks that are performing every role in the production or post-production process. And so having everything in a database that enables everybody to have the same view of the truth enables far improved cross-team communication and opens up some really cool workflows around project management, review and approve, and sharing of content across teams, across an organization. So that tries to give a picture of what CatDV does and the functions it provides. Shall we move to the next one, Elton? So why do we think CatDV is a great product in this space? We know there are other products out there, and We have 900 corporate clients that are happily using CatDV and many thousands of individual users that use CatDV. Well, why do we think they've chosen CatDV over some of the alternatives? Well, number one, it's simple. So it's not just simple to use, it's simple to deploy, and so you don't have to buy a whole pile of additional and complex professional services just to get your workflow up and running. Also, we recognize that different users have different needs, and so your producer might need quite a different set of tools than an archivist or someone that's working in an edit booth. So we have tools that are suited to the different users of the system. And then lastly, on the simplicity front, we don't insist on any particular workflow. We, for example, try to play as many media types as we can natively without having to transcode, which is very unique. We don't think that we should dictate how your production workflow should operate. And so we have tools that enable automation at the same time as not dictating the way that your workflow and your company has to work. So we think CatDV is simple. We think it's powerful. We have some of the biggest names in the business. If you look on our website, you'll see a few of the organizations that use CatDV, and we'll cover a few in a subsequent page. But 900 or so corporate installations across a wide range of industries I think is testament to the power that the product has. At the same time, while we're a cost-effective product, we also scale to large volumes, and so many millions of assets distributed across multiple locations are fairly routine for CatDV. Thirdly, we're flexible, and that's important because in a rapidly changing market, customers don't want to get locked in. There's always new formats, new technologies coming along. The cloud is clearly where things are heading in terms of deployment. And you need tools that aren't going to send you up a blind alley or be limited once you reach their boundaries. And CatDV is hugely flexible. We have a pile of APIs. It's very easy to get data in and out of CatDV. We have integrations that are well documented and proven. Many of them are up on our website that show how CatDV can work with other tools, and clearly FileCatalyst is a great example of that we're talking about today. And CatDV can grow with you. So we've had customers that have started with a single copy of CatDV running on a laptop, and now they're running with many tens or even hundreds of users with our web capabilities and our sophisticated Pegasus clients, starting from that very simple base. And it's a seamless growth from standalone clients right up to our most sophisticated solutions. There's not a big migration process or difficulties in that scaling process. Fourthly, we're safe. We've been around for about 13 years as a product, and we spent many of the first years of our company's existence trying to convince people that they had a problem or were going to have a problem with the asset management. These days, I think that's well in the past, and most organizations realize there is innate value in the assets they own, and they want to unlock it. And so I think that's less relevant for us these days. But during those 12 years, we've developed a sophisticated and proven product that's used across many organizations worldwide. And unlike some of our other competitors in the space, we have a very open attitude to sharing information. If you look on our website, we have tutorials. There's a Creative Cow forum that's well peopled. All of our documentation is up on the website, and we operate fairly open beta programs to give previews of the technology that's coming down the pipe. So I think we are a safe choice too. And then clearly we're cost effective. So the market for media asset management often starts at 7 figures, and we do not do that. And so we try to aim for tools that are cost effective and will suit any budget. Okay, let's move on. So who else uses CatDV? Well, because everybody has media in almost any industry these days, then almost anybody can use CatDV to help them to manage their media. So down the left we look at some of the sectors that use CatDV, and our base has been in production, but at the same time we have customers in a wide range of industries: sports, education, in business, particularly in the non-profit space, government, healthcare, broadcasting studios, and marketing, advertising, museums. So, as I mentioned, we have quite a large number of corporations and individual users that use CatDV, covering these industries and more. So in terms of case studies, we love people to share the success they have with CatDV, and here are a few case studies that appear on our website where the customer's workflow is described in detail. So Jet Propulsion Laboratories use CatDV to record the history of space science, which I always think is incredibly cool. The folks that made the Teletubbies, they had a really stressful time putting that show together, so for their next shows they use CatDV to manage production. What shoots are we doing today? Is the sound ready yet? Who's working on these FX shots? Thoroughbred Racing Productions uses CatDV to manage their outside broadcast for horse racing in Australia. Volvo Ocean Race going on at the moment, they use CatDV to manage all of their footage for this month-long race around the globe. Canadian Tire is a retailer, Sportsmax a broadcaster, Gateway Church, clearly a church. Primerica uses CatDV to educate their customers on their products through the videos they put out. A couple of universities and sports teams, as well as a feature film and an archive. In fact, there's a few more now, even over and above this. So bodybuilding.com use CatDV. They are the world's largest sports supplement retailer, and they use CatDV to be able to show up exercise videos and such like too. So a huge breadth of folks use CatDV to manage the media across their organization. Let's move on, please.
Cool. Thanks, Dave, for that intro to CatDV. It's very insightful, and a lot of similarities with FileCatalyst. So, in terms of the markets we cover, so that's really good, and that's why we're partnered with CatDV. So now let's take a look at the FileCatalyst Direct product. This is the product that has been integrated into CatDV. So just an intro, what is FileCatalyst Direct? It is a point-to-point file transfer solution requiring software at both endpoints, hence a server-client model. The client applications include the hot folder. This is an application that allows you to perform automated and scheduled transfers with folder synchronization. We have Express, which is a desktop client which allows you to perform ad hoc manual file transfers. We have our web-based applets and transfer agent that you can embed into any web page to offer either upload-only capabilities, download, or two-way. We also have headless applets that you can use to build your own interface on top of, however still leverage the acceleration technology. As mentioned, we have a strong set of APIs that can be used for integration. Our FileCatalyst command line tool has been integrated into CatDV, as well as we can use the hot folder or any of our other clients to ingest files into CatDV. And lastly, we have our mobile clients for iOS and Android. Now that you've heard about FileCatalyst Direct, Dave will tell us how FileCatalyst is integrated into CatDV. Dave?
Pardon me, I was on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a schoolboy error, isn't it? Okay, so thank you very much, Elton. Yeah, so the integration between FileCatalyst Direct and CatDV is pretty powerful. So there are three key parts to it, which we're going to talk about now. First off, CatDV can watch the content arriving from FileCatalyst Direct. So we can harvest that content that's arriving in a FileCatalyst folder, and then with our automation engine, our CatDV worker, we can set it up to ingest that content automatically. So we can either leave that in place, or based on the footage that's coming in, we can file it in its final location on the SAN, and maybe even set off an archive job to be able to put that onto tape so that it can be recovered and is nice and safely stored away for the future. We can pick up, clearly when we ingest, we pick up as much technical metadata, frame rates, frame size, formats, audio, codecs and such like. And we extract all that on the way into CatDV. At the same time, if there's any other metadata available, perhaps that's been logged on a camera or on other applications earlier in the workflow, we can also pick that up. We can kick off transcodes, so if we're getting some high-res stuff in, some P2, some red footage, then we can transcode that into a variety of mezzanine formats or other formats suitable for maybe for web broadcast or proofing. And we can put things into catalogs that are then marked as being ready for review, ready for logging. And so we can very flexibly pick up the content that's arriving from a FileCatalyst Direct channel and be able to ingest that into its final central location. So that's number one. At the same time, we can also send content out from CatDV using the FileCatalyst Direct technologies. And there's two ways of doing that. One that's central, and one that can, now in CatDV 11, a very new one, can be run from the client directly. So from the central location, the workflow is fairly straightforward. An asset would be chosen, or several assets would be chosen in CatDV, and they would be marked to be sent to a particular FileCatalyst location. And then our worker, our automation engine, would pick up that those assets were ready to be sent, and it would pass them out to FileCatalyst using one of the APIs, in this case a command line API, telling FileCatalyst where to send things in a secure and reliable manner, as Elton described earlier. And the new and exciting stuff in CatDV Pegasus, which is newly released at IBC this year, we can also run this content sharing from our clients. And so, for example, if you have a client that's in the field somewhere, let's imagine it's in New York, whereas your CatDV server and your storage is in LA somewhere, then a user in New York with content they've taken locally and is available on their hard drive can be, or on a card that's plugged into their laptop, can be sent right back to the central location from the CatDV Pegasus client directly, making that process simple and reliable and easy for a customer to do. So three ways really. So we can pick up content coming in from FileCatalyst, and then we can share that content in two ways, centrally and using our desktop client, our Pegasus client, to be able to send content back to a FileCatalyst channel. Thanks, Elton. So where might that be useful? Well, Elton's previously described, FileCatalyst can be used in a number of workflows that need security, reliability, and fast file delivery. And so there's a few obvious domains where that is particularly useful. In news, archive, or an organization with multiple offices around the world needing to share that content quickly, during sporting events, particularly live or live-like events, and for long-distance learning. And in terms of across those sectors, then the kind of workflows that are particularly useful between FileCatalyst and CatDV would be things like review and approve workflows, where you can send out content to a particular location when it's ready to be reviewed and have feedback gathered. I mentioned about harvesting master content from remote locations, being able to plug a camera card into a laptop and use CatDV and FileCatalyst to send that content back to the central store. And then sharing content with remote locations, clearly I think we've spoken about that too. So Elton, do you want to add anything to this discussion?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, Dave, there's tons of various workflows. Highlighting one, for example, the live sporting events. FileCatalyst can transfer growing files, and we've done this recently with winter games that happened in Sochi, whereby NBC Sports used FileCatalyst to transfer growing proxy files from Sochi all the way to Stanford, and they had remote editing happening in Stanford and logging happening in Stanford. So in similar cases, we can be used in various live events in that sense. Yeah, so that's about it. At this point in time, I guess we can open up the floor for questions. And if there are any questions you may have, there's a question panel on the GoToMeeting webinar. As questions come in, I'll read them out so that everyone can hear the question, and then depending on the question, Dave and I will answer them. So one of the questions that come in is, does CatDV handle video footage only, or can it handle other types of files?
Okay, yeah, so I'll take that one.
Yeah.
So CatDV as an asset management tool is pretty unfussy when it comes to content. We equally handle stills, sounds, and videos, and in fact we can handle other things. So project files, we've just added a whole pile of extra. So we have Photoshop and Illustrator support now for previews. But then anything that we can't render in our player, we just can store as an asset that we just show the operating system icon for. So we can treat any asset, project files, documents, as things that we manage with CatDV. And in fact, there's a customer that we use that uses CatDV to be able to share many of their documents out from a central storage location rather than any kind of intranet or file server solution. So yes, CatDV is very flexible, and even on the video front, then I think, as I probably mentioned, we, unlike all the other asset management solutions out there, try and play footage natively. So CatDV can play red footage straight out of the camera, P2, XD cam, with the appropriate codecs in those cases, without having to transcode, which is an enormous time saver when you come off from a shoot. You don't want to have to spend 2 or 3 hours transcoding footage before you can even start looking at it and logging it. One of our big customers, Kansas City Chiefs, they log their footage using a standalone copy of CatDV on the plane on the way back from their football games, using all the native raw footage they've been taking, and then when they get back to base, they plug it into their server, save that same metadata, and then get CatDV to kick off a whole pile of transcodes and format changes too. So yeah, we're pretty flexible.
Thanks, Abe. So there's another number of questions actually come in while you were talking about that. So, bear with us. We'll try and get them all answered. So another question is that, looking at FileCatalyst and other products, how can they be replaced to use FileCatalyst, and why would FileCatalyst be considered a viable alternative? So in a heartbeat, the 3 things that differentiate us from other products out there. Ease of use. So FileCatalyst has 2 products that you would need to basically ensure all your file transfer workflows are covered. That's FileCatalyst Direct and FileCatalyst Workflow. I didn't talk about the FileCatalyst Workflow product in this webinar, but just as an overview, it's a web-based product that allows you to ingest with metadata as well as distribution of files to anyone with an email address. So in that sense, we have 2 products that can do all what you need to do when it comes to file transfer. We're cheaper solution, so if you want to understand our pricing structure, by all means feel free to contact us after this webinar. We can share that with you. And we're faster. As mentioned, we are the only file transfer company that can do 10 gigabits per second on a single file, on a single stream with a single file, so you don't need multiple files to maximize your 10 gigabits per second link. There's another question that says, just talking about growing files, can FileCatalyst transfer growing files, i.e. while they're still being captured at source? Yes, absolutely. So as you have a file being recorded from a camera, you can either have an application like one of our partners, Mog, does this, whereby you can capture SDI to file and create a proxy, and as the proxy is growing, FileCatalyst will transfer that proxy, which now allows you to set editing at a different location on that proxy, send back the AAFs or EDLs, and create high-res clips that can then be transferred back using FileCatalyst. So in that sense, you can do remote editing as well as capture at source. Where can I find a copy of this webinar? We'll be placing it on our website. So if you go to FileCatalyst.com, under support, there's a webinars link. If you'll to click on that link, and you'll see the webinar in a couple of days from now. There's another question. If I'm correct, FileCatalyst is a super Dropbox, incredible, fast to optimize content delivery. Yes, absolutely, that is correct. So yes, FileCatalyst can accelerate file transfers from any point to a FileCatalyst server, and it does, in some cases replace Dropbox, and the ability to, drop a file in a folder and automatically get sent to a FileCatalyst server, maximizing your bandwidth. There's another question again, Dave. This one is for you. How simple is it to select a file in CatDV as being ready for transfer via FileCatalyst?
Okay, so yeah, the workflow is very straightforward. So in our desktop client, you would navigate to that clip either via a search or by a browse of your server, and then you would just change a piece of metadata. So the way the workflow works, you'd have a piece of metadata that says send to FileCatalyst, and maybe another piece of metadata that said where to send it to, which of the kind of FileCatalyst destinations you wanted to get to. And it would just be a question of selecting one or more assets, changing that metadata to send, and then the worker would go off and pick it up, and based on the success of that job would then update afterwards to say that content had been sent. So very straightforward.
So, and a follow-up to that is we need to deliver our finished videos to our content provider and would like to trigger it with an action in CatDV. So I'm guessing is it an automated way, or do you have to, I guess, manually flip it to send to FileCatalyst?
Well, something needs to kick it off, right? So we know some customers have used some of our automated actions to publish content after a certain date or time. Usually you do want to have some manual interaction to be able to say this is good content and it's going to go at the end of your internal review processes. But there's been all sorts of things can kick that off. It can be time, it can be things arriving on the network. So yeah, CatDV can handle many different ways of sending stuff.
Okay, cool. The other question we have is, can FileCatalyst work with real-time video streams, i.e. streaming live content over the web as a contribution feed to a broadcaster is also affected by internet latency issues. However, the content does not present as a closed-off file. No, so FileCatalyst can only accelerate files that are on disk or files in object store. We do not accelerate any streams. It's pure file transfer. To answer that question. And again, Dave, there's a question for you. For CatDV, is there an additional cost to transcode read P2 XT-CAM media into CatDV?
So I'm going to have to give the consultant's answer.
Yes.
Which is, it depends. If you look on our website, there are a variety of tools that enable transcodes. CatDV's worker uses QuickTime to do transcoding, and it's pretty high quality. It's not the fastest in the world, and it has a wide range of codec support. And so if we have the right codecs, then we can transcode to or from a wide range of different formats. At the same time, we know that some customers have very specific requirements, and we want to be the best in the world at making asset management rather than the best at being a transcoder. So whilst we have a transcoder, and it's pretty good, and it works in a large volume of cases, we also work really well with other transcoders.
Cool.
For Red footage, Red themselves make some great tools. Redline is their command line tool, and there's some workflows on the website that use that to transcode from native Red into web proxies. We know people use it with Vantage from Telestream, and at the lower end with Episode Engine and Episode Pro. We know folks have used it with Digital Rapids, Compressor, and so we like working with whatever tools are right for our customers.
Yeah. Cool, thanks, Dave. And another question, is there a trial? How can we test it? Yes, absolutely. We will reach out to you, or feel free to email us, and we will provide you trial information for both products.
So our approach to sales is very much try before you buy. We like folks to be comfortable with the software before choosing to go with it. And so actually, if you go via Elton, because he's helped us to organize this stuff, then Elton, if you can pass any inquiries on to him, then we'd be very happy to help out.
Yeah, absolutely. And another question is, can we have CatDV worker node watching a network share and use FileCatalyst to sync all data to a stack of offsite storage? I'll answer the backup question, and Dave, you can take over the CatDV question. Yes, absolutely. You can use FileCatalyst to back up, all your data to an offsite storage using a hot folder. So if you have the FileCatalyst server sitting in your central location, you can have a hot folder sitting in your backup that's pulling down all the data and synchronizing itself with the central location. And Dave, if you want to take over the first part of that question.
Yeah, so we can watch network folders. It depends how big they get and what things are appearing in them and how much is changing. One of the things we're actively working on at the moment is being able to mirror file system changes within CatDV in a faster way. But absolutely, CatDV looks at folders and can ingest and synchronize data between the folder structure and CatDV. One of the things we can also do is extract metadata from the folder names and the file names. There's another tutorial on the website for that. So customers that often start with no asset management have a folder structure that has some meaning, episode, program, season, and it's easy for CatDV to be able to extract that as metadata so it doesn't have to be relogged.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And there's a couple of, anyone asking about pricing information, please feel free to reach out to us directly. We'll answer those pricing questions directly to you. We have to understand your environment and workflows and so on before we can answer any pricing questions in that way. And there's another question. Yes, so this webinar will be again available on our website. We will have other FileCatalyst CatDV webinars in the future. There's none planned at the moment, but we will definitely have another one next year maybe. And yes, if you wish to submit any questions regarding this webinar, you can email them to info@filecatalyst.com. Dave, do you have an email that you would like to provide for any questions related to?
Absolutely, info@squarebox.com.
There you go. So you have info@filecatalyst.com and info@squarebox.com, and we'll respond to any of your questions regarding this webinar. And let me see if there's any more questions. Yeah, looks like yes. We will post out the website address as well as email you all the details as well regarding this. And yeah, so there's another question come in. Is it possible in CatDV to have more than 3 user actions that can be used in the worker node to trigger these actions? We only have access to the first 3 user fields from the worker node. I'm not sure if this is something you would like to answer.
Yeah, so yes, absolutely. So the worker node can use any user. It does depend slightly on licensing. Some of our lower cost servers have some restriction on the number of fields that can be created. Yeah, write to us on info@squarebox.com for a more specific answer, but generally, yes, CatDV can use any number. My demo rig, as you might imagine, I've got about 160 user fields, and they're all being used in various worker actions, so absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and what is the size limitation on the CatDV side? Some virtual volumes can go to 2 terabytes.
Yeah, so from our perspective, we have probably a lower demand than media does on the network. So we store in our database metadata and thumbnails for footage, and so we have many customers with many millions of assets and many hundreds of terabytes, and so we haven't found an organization that is too big for us yet. I'd love to be challenged, and in fact that's what the developers tell me, just find one that's too big that we can't do and they'll fix it. And so CatDV's always been pushing the boundaries, and certainly 2-3 million assets is fine.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. And it looks like that's all the time we have for questions, and all the questions that have been answered, I believe. At this point in time, I would like to thank Dave for taking the time to join us on this, being a panelist on this webinar. As well, thank you all the audience, everyone who asked questions. Very good questions, and thanks for taking the time to join us, on this December webinar. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. So thank you very much, and have yourselves a great holiday.
Great. Thanks, Elton.
Thank you.